Middle Earth. Literally middle of nowhere, USA. Well, you ever feel like you might have missed some kind of alternate realities you would have been living your life if you had met certain people or got to know certain people better? There's always this one woman I dream of, the first woman I ever had a major crush on. She was going to university, a few years older than me, and I had just gotten a job there washing dishes, as some people like to say. Wash. I don't know where they get the R, but that's what they like to say. And I guess I had a little bad crush on her. I wrote her this big note. I guess it was a love note. Gave it to her. She's all stressed out because she's doing her thesis. And the day I actually gave it to her, so she'd been up like 3 days writing this huge paper, trying to graduate from her college, university. Look, the Americans call it college, okay? They also call it university, but in general it's called college. In the UK they say university, you know? And by the way, for people in the UK, how does that work when you say, I understand what going on holiday is, we would say here in the States, going on vacation. So what do you say during the actual holiday season itself? Like Christ is Mass, Christmas. What do you say? It's vacation season? I don't know. I understand what you're saying. And I know that Americans, you know, pronounce things wrong, like aluminum. I think is originally spelled aluminium, which is why you say it that way, but for some reason the Americans here took out an I and called it aluminum. Whatever, it's kind of irrelevant. So anyways, I had a crush on this girl. I gave this huge note. It was really awkward, embarrassing. Then it was even awkwarder after that. But just by affiliation and knowing the same people and living in the same area, we grew to know each other a bit. Not ever close. I was never relaxed around her. I always still had a crush on her. And not always actually. I lost it too. But I was always nervous around her. I guess because I was attracted to her or something. But we did become friends. I'd hang out at her house. Some of her housemates at the house she had. I was friends with. Where's that horse? He likes to get food from you. See, he won't give you the time of day really unless you have food. So, and we'd hang out, and we even worked at the same recycling center for a while, like driving around forklifts and whatever. But she worked the early shift and I worked the late shift. I don't know, we just never became close. She was part of the cool kid crowd. What they call hipsters now, before there was hipsters, you know? The nerd punkers that were in bands playing music. So she went to this liberal arts college for kind of like rich kids. She wasn't really a rich kid. They don't act like rich kids. And they say they're middle class, but really they're kind of rich kids. You're washing dishes there and barely make it. Meanwhile, their parents are helping them to buy houses. Granted, they're old houses that are fixer-uppers in like industrial areas. But whatever. So we never became close, but for some reason I still have dreams of her. It's always in her neighborhood there. It's a different version of this industrial area where I used to live too, in another house for a while, a couple blocks from her. And all these other people I knew. A lot of bands live down there, a lot of musicians and artists and druggies. You know, and kind of like a warehouse neighborhood, you know, with houses mixed in it. Actually, one of my old friends, before any of these people even lived there, when I was like 13, I had this black friend named Ron Washington, and he got killed, got his neck slit because his cousin didn't like his white girlfriend. They got into an altercation, he tried to break it up, something like that, and he got his neck slit. Although he was, at the time, getting into like drugs a lot and dealing drugs when he was 19 or 18. And gangbanging and shit. Not too bad on the gangbanger, but he was affiliated with a lot of those people, so he's always kind of fishy. It's really what happened. Anyways, his dad had was renting a house down in that industrial area. Remember, they were building a bunch of new warehouses across the street, and me and Ron would go in there. They wouldn't leave them locked up. There was no garage doors on them. Garage. And So we'd hijack this construction equipment. Like there's a lift, hydraulic lift that goes up like 40 feet in the air, like zzz, and you drive it around. We went on that, and I went up. We went up to the rafters, and Ron was hanging on one, and I went down. I was like 10 feet below, and he's freaking out, and I got back up. You know, typical stuff. We used to screw with each other a bit. He was a bigger dude than me, more of a badass. So usually he was the you know, dominant friend or whatever. Don't get all weird and sexual, people. Okay, it wasn't like that. And but anyways, we're horsing around there for a couple hours. There's huge rolls of carpet, and the construction workers come in all of a sudden. It was like the weekend. These three guys get out of their trucks and start coming over like, oh shit. We dive behind the carpet roll. They're over there talking, and we did something. I think Ron grabbed something and threw it on the corner on the other side of the warehouse. So they were looking that way, and we took off running, just laughing, you know. Anyways, he lived down there 10 years before these people were down there, 8 years. And then that neighborhood got all popular. So I'm getting off track here. So yeah, I just had a dream of this girl, this woman, the other night. Last night. Woke up, like, back in the reality that I don't want to be in, and am in quite often. It's a pretty bad one right now. It's the broke, stuck at my mom's house in a really small town with no work, trying to sell off all the things I want to keep, like my keyboards, music instruments, because I need money. And I recently broke the device I use to make my videos. This is a regular old camera that I had. It takes good pictures, but I can't do any editing on it. I don't have any visual effects or editing. I can't splice up stuff. I can't add my music to it without just using a regular microphone. So anyways, I had a dream of this girl last night, this woman. In the dream, they're never like sexual, they're just we're getting to know each other as friends or whatever. Maybe a little bit of like basic hand contact or something stupid. But she was always part of the cool group. Her band toured Europe, and she hangs out with like all the hipster kids that are, you know, I always knew a lot of those people, and I get along with some of them. Most of them, they always knew me, and we kind of chat a bit, but we're never close. And I have other friends that I was close with for a little while that were close with those people that I lost. Basically, I didn't become friends with them anymore because I got sick of the whole trying to impress people thing. They say that's not what they're doing, but they are. There's a lot of verbiage going on, a lot of talking to impress people, and how knowledgeable you are or something. I don't know what it is. But yeah, so, you know, what if you hook up with people like that in your life? And your whole life course could have changed. There's only a few key figures like that too that you meet. I dream of this girl more than I do my ex-girlfriends. She was never in a girlfriend. I don't know why. And they're always vivid dreams. I think it's something to do with feeling like a failure during that whole time period of that neighborhood and the people I knew then, and trying to get creative and be in bands like everybody else and not pulling it off. It's just a rough slap in the face waking up back to this. My mom's like, always first thing I get up late because I try to sleep. You know, I don't get any privacy till late at night when she goes to bed upstairs. So then I have my private time, and I'm usually up late so I can think without people talking to me. And yeah, and then I'm back to this reality, and I don't want to be back in this reality. If I am going to be in this reality, I want it to change into something favorable to what I like. Because right now it's really sucking, and it has sucked a lot on and off for many years. Hands are cold out here, pretty damn cold. Jesus. But you know, you ever get that? You still dream of certain situations or people that you feel like you could have delved into deeper, and it would have been an intense path or experience in your life, but you didn't do that for some reason, something happened. I mean, that happens a couple times or several times. It's kind of weird. I actually feel so bad about this reality sometimes I just feel like crying. Been having a rough go of it lately. I fractured my neck like 4 months ago, and that's doing good. I lucked out on that. I didn't have to pay the hospital bill. You know, I think I already said this in some other videos, so I'm just going to shut up. Look, I lucked out on that particular issue, but other than that, it's been kind of crap. I have no car, no money. I don't need a car per se, but I have no money. No close friends. I'm 40 in 2 weeks, and I have no work experience, as it were. It's all horrible jobs, like washing dishes and being a janitor, cleaning up people's shit, literally. That's what I've done, and they're always for minimum wage. One time I had one janitor job at the seafood importing place in Seattle, where I was the only non-white collar person in there. Everybody else, it was an office, and I was the janitor because they had a kitchen in there. I got $14 an hour for that. And then I got laid off one day abruptly. They laid off like 8 people for company downsizing because of the economy. But I was the only, everybody else was like, you know, have family and kids and have been working at this place for years. And then just one day, okay, here's your checks, here's your severance pay, you're out of here. So, I started to hate that job after a while, though. I was there alone at night after people left, after cleaning up the kitchen, and I'd file papers. And we're looking out the skyline of downtown Seattle at night, and I was living in this shithole above a bar a couple miles away. It was real loud, and all these crackheads lived there in the halls, and to share a bathroom with these people. It just sucked. And I was just so frustrated. I remember getting really pissed off, being in such a bad mood, just screaming out loud at the top of my lungs. Fuck! And then filing all these papers. Well, yeah. So I woke up from that dream and I'm back to this. I don't want to be back to this, or I want this to change. Maybe closer to what the dreams are. Of course, in that dream, nothing fantastic was happening. We were just hanging out and talking about stuff. Anyways, good talking at you.